Thomas the Retro Nerd, reviewing the games good or bad.
Fuck yes! Now this is a review that I wanted to get to for a very long time. Ever since my teenage years, I quickly became a fan of Mortal Kombat. Now this is a franchise started back in the 90s during the fighting arcade game craze, along with Fatal Fury, Killer Instinct, and even Street Fighter. Sure, Super Smash Bros. Introduced me to the fighting game genre, but it was Mortal Kombat that got me hooked. With a brand new movie on the horizon, I say it's time to look at the Mortal Kombat games. I know, I did some Mortal Kombat videos in the past, though like what I did with my past videos from 2012 and 2013, I'm giving the reviews a better treatment. Seriously, I sucked back then.
So for this review, I'm going to be taking a look at the arcade games, and no, I'm not going to be taking a look at the home console ports. That'll be saved for another time. Besides, another nerd already took care of that. And of course, if I'm going to be taking a look at games like Mythology Sub-Zero or Special Forces, again, that'll be for another time whenever I feel like it. I also have some bonuses that I'm going to be putting in this review. Are you guys ready? Let the combat begin!
Okay, let's reel it back in a bit. Before we get to Mortal Kombat, let's start with Pit Fighter, more like Shit Fighter. There, I got the joke out of the way. Let's just get this over with. It started as an arcade game by Atari, which was later ported to the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Why am I looking at this game? Well, the characters in this game were created with digitized actors. This was a new kind of technology at the time. The game follows a bunch of brawlers fighting in some sort of tournament for a big prize. That's it. The home versions are infamous for being butchered ports. I can see why. Though I had the Genesis version, which I heard is the better version. I'm not a fan of this game, but I thought I would mention this to you. Alright, no more fooling around, now let's move on to the actual subject of today's video. With the success of Street Fighter 2 and some inspiration from the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Bloodsport, Midway tasked Ed Boon and John Tobias to make their own fighting game. Using the same techniques with Pit Fighter by filming the actors doing all the animation, Mortal Kombat was released in the arcades in 1992.
After the release of Mortal Kombat, everyone forgot about Pit Fighter and it faded into obscurity. So what made Mortal Kombat different than any other fighting game in the genre?
Johnny Cage wins.
Oh yeah. This game was famous for its high violence and gore because of all the blood spewing around, and by ending the match by killing your opponents, which is satisfying. The plot for this game is that a series of fighters are competing in a tournament called Mortal Kombat, which is spelled with a K instead of a C because, well, it was the 90s. Spelling it with a K, it sounds cooler. You fight everyone in the field, including yourself, 3 endurance rounds, which I find a pain in the neck, minigames which requires a lot of button mashing, and Goro, the prince of the Shokan race. Yeah, some people may say he may be the final boss, but, yeah, he's very tough. Each character has their own stories and main reasons to enter the tournament. First, there's action star Johnny Cage, who is the inspiration from Van Damme, Kano, a mercenary of the Black Dragon, Thunder God Raiden, Shaolin Monk Liu Kang, who is a Bruce Lee homage, Scorpion, the Spectre of the Shirai Ryu, Sub-Zero, the Lin Kuei Ice Ninja, and Sonya, a Special Forces agent. I have no idea why she's dressed as an aerobics instructor. I find it funny that her actress, Elizabeth Malecki, is a professional dancer in real life.
And just to let you know, I'm playing these games on the arcade collection on my PlayStation 3. So yeah, I'm going to be playing the arcade originals in the comfort of my own home.
The controls are simple to understand. You have 2 punches and 2 kicks, the D-pad or joystick is to move, and R2 is for block. Each character has their own certain special moves to change up the fight. And they even have their own signature fatalities to end the fight. This kind of high violence causes soccer moms to cause an uproar with their kids playing this game, which led into the creation of the ESRB rating system. This was the turning point of the video game industry, mind you. No longer about your Marios, your Zeldas, your Mega Mans, or even your Sonics. It's time to grow up. This is a man's game.
I'm a man! I grow a beard!
The violence in this game is more tame than what we got with the franchise these days. Nevertheless, out of all the fighters in this roster, I will forever be a Scorpion player. Like with co-creator Ed Boon, Scorpion is my favorite character, even to this day. His moves, his backstory, his finishers, all badass. Now, if you can maneuver throughout the fighters to reach the top, the AI will kick your ass hard! 90% of the time, the AI will block all your attacks you throw at them and mainly overuse special moves that are impossible to pull off. Most of these moments left me shocked at how impossible it is. Though when you get to Goro, he is a mountain of a monster. Unlike the other characters, Goro is a stop-motion puppet, and I love it. I managed to maneuver with the strategy of jump kicking at the right time, but it does take patience. At the end, there's Shang Tsung, the ringleader of the tournament. He can't attack shit unless he transforms into other fighters. Alone, he can only shoot flaming skulls that hurt. Once you defeat him, the souls he collected leaves his body and is defeated, surfacing a huge victory. Who cares about high scores these days? In the end, Mortal Kombat became my favorite fighting game to this day. I highly recommend playing this game with a friend. Local multiplayer is so good.
Things sure got different around here. Seems kind of quiet. Hey Tom, where you at? Whoa, Tom! What's happened, dude? Oh, the welcome home party. Took you long enough. Huh, came as quick as I could, man. Well, it's good to see you again, Sean. Same here, brother. Yeah, well, I'm playing some Mortal Kombat in my room. Care to join me? Time and place. Right.
Mortal Kombat became an instant success. In the following year, Midway released the sequel, Mortal Kombat 2, which is considered the best installment from the arcade days. Plot-wise, Liu Kang won the Mortal Kombat tournament, which causes Shang Tsung's ruler, Shao Kahn, no, I'm not doing it, to schedule another tournament in Outworld, aka the game's equivalent of Hell. With the new game, we have new characters like the Tarkatan Baraka, Sonya's partner Jax, Princess Katana, Liu Kang's friend Kung Lao, Lina, the clone of Katana, and Reptile, who is a hidden opponent from the first game, now with his own moveset. You can also play as Shang Tsung in this game. Awesome! Also, Sub-Zero could be considered as a new character. Let me explain. The first Sub-Zero, Bi-Han, was killed in the original tournament by Scorpion. In Mortal Kombat 2, that's his younger brother, Kuala Yang, who took the mantle of Sub-Zero and joined the Outworld tournament to avenge his brother's death. So what happened to Bi-Han? He was resurrected as one of the hidden fighters, Noob Saibot. Yes, the co-creators' names backwards. You could also find Jade and Smoke in this game, but I'll let you get beaten by them to see how awesome they are. The graphics have better details, the violence is better, the stages are well designed, the soundtrack is entertaining to listen to, and all around it took what worked with the original game and gave it an upgrade. This time characters have 2 fatalities instead of 1, which I say gives more variety in gameplay. There's also friendships and babalities, alternate finishers that is like a joke over the complaints from the first game. No matter, I like these, even though they're very hard to perform. Seriously, I did the button combinations correct. I feel like this game is freaking picky. No, seriously, what am I doing wrong here? I did the button combo, but is it my controller? Well, I had this for 9 years, so I think that might be the problem. Also, there are more stage fatalities instead of limiting to the pit from the first game. My favorite is the Deadpool, where the opponent falls into acid. Awesome. The AI is as bad as the original, yet I feel like it's worse because of the extension of the roster. Just look at this, they're spamming their special attacks just so I can't touch them.
This is the kind of thing I call spam fanning, where the AI repeatedly uses the same moves over and over and over again so you can lose faster with no effort.
And yes, I'm once again complaining about hard AI from an arcade game that is designed to take your souls, aka quarters. This is just my opinion. I say that the single player experience is just garbage. That's why I stick to local multiplayer with my friends. That's how much fun I have with this game. I can understand why this installment was loved. If you haven't played it, go for it. As of this point, the Mortal Kombat iron is blazing hot! In 1995, New Line Cinema gave us the Mortal Kombat live-action movie directed by Paul Anderson, who would later do the Resident Evil movies and Alien vs. Predator. The plot follows the first game's story, where Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya Blade entered the Mortal Kombat tournament to save Earthrealm from Shang Tsung. The movie may be rated PG-13, but the respect to the source material really makes it up for it, and it would influence the characters later on in the franchise. There are some good and bad to this movie. The good is Goro. He may be an animatronic, but he was a bitch to work with. Plus, being voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson really sells it.
This puny mortal will be no problem.
The major bad is with Syzoth.
Yeah, Reptile is in this movie and he looks terrible. I get it, mid-90s CGI, but it never works. At least the fight with Liu Kang was badass. Speaking of which, the fights in this movie are a sight to behold. Sonya's fight with Kano is solid, Scorpion and Johnny Cage squared off, another one of my favorites. The already mentioned fight with Liu Kang and Reptile, and I love how Johnny Cage gave Goro the Nutcracker. Oh! Yet, the man who stole the entire movie was Hiroyuki Tagawa as Shang Tsung. Get the catchphrase out of the way.
Your soul is mine.
That is a phrase that'll stick with the character later on in the franchise.
Your soul is mine.
Tagawa would reprise his role as Shang Tsung in other MK projects like in Legacy Season 2, and heck, he even came back in the latest game!
Mr. Tagawa, God bless you, man!
Mortal Kombat is not a perfect movie, at least I can say I had fun at the end. I would agree with the mass that this is the best video game movie ever made. Not to mention that this movie gave us Techno Syndrome by the Immortals. Play it again! Around the same year, Midway unleashed the next installment of the series, Mortal Kombat 3, which received mixed results. With some returning characters, we also have some newcomers for this, like Shiva, Cyrax, Sector, Sinnoh, Nightwolf, Cabal, and Mr. Punching Bag himself, Stryker. By this roster, it looks like Midway was going for a more realistic look than the previous installments. The biggest example is Sub-Zero. Less of a ninja and more like a Baldwin. No offense to John Turk, he did a pretty good job as Sub-Zero. Also, yes, this is the game that doesn't have Scorpion. That makes no sense. You can't have a Mortal Kombat game without both Sub-Zero and Scorpion. You think Smoke will be the next Scorpion? Not even. This was quickly fixed when Midway released Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. If you add the word Ultimate to anything, you'll prefer that version. With the return of the missing characters like Scorpion, Mileena, Katana, and Reptile, we also get the addition of Ermac, Jade, Classic Sub-Zero, and Cyborg Smoke along with his human form. Sadly, no love for Raiden in this game. So what happened to Johnny Cage?
He died in between games. That's sad.
Characters aside, Mortal Kombat 3 has some new additions than what it is in the previous games. First off, you have a run button, which is cool to get to your opponents faster, but it is mainly used to quick start your new combo mechanic. By pressing the right buttons, you will deal massive amount of damage, and it's awesome! In this game, you can also knock your opponents into other areas of the stages. Talk about painful. Like previously, we got fatalities, friendships,
Friendship? Again?
babalities, and stage fatalities. This is also the game to feature animalities, where the characters change into animals to put a final blow to your opponents. Some of them are just weird. Honestly, I don't like the fatalities in this game. They look more cheesy and cartoonish. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try to pull them off yourself. I won't bother talking about the single player because I'll be repeating myself. Still as awful as ever. Aside from the bad fatalities, I'm not a fan of this installment. There are some interesting ideas here, but it's not enough for me to recommend. Plus, this game has some balancing issues, mainly because of Cabal and Cyborg Smoke. A year later, Midway gave us Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which brings out all the fighters from the games into one. I don't have this game, and honestly, I'm not missing much. In the end, Mortal Kombat 3 is not my cup of tea. Though if you wanted something new, give it a try if you can.
So, with the success of the first movie, New Line Cinema thought it would be interesting to spawn a sequel in November 1997, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Calling this movie a train wreck is kind of like an insult to train wrecks.
I'm sorry for jumping the gun here, but this movie is a disaster. It had a confusing plot, mainly focusing on Mortal Kombat 3's plot, way too many characters that flood this movie, and even name-dropping them.
2 of Earth's best warriors have already been taken. Cabal and Stryker.
God-awful special effects, and this is Shao Kahn? This is ridiculous. Shao Kahn is supposed to be one of the most menacing villains in the Mortal Kombat franchise, but really? This bald geezer with daddy issues is our main threat? Come on now! But I hate to poke fun of him, when he takes his helmet off, he looks more like Egghead from Batman. Even some of the characters have been recasted. Christopher Lambert made it very clear that he didn't like the script to Annihilation, and that's why he didn't return.
Honestly, I don't blame him.
What about the fights in this movie? You didn't care about the story, all you care about are the fight scenes, since it's based off of a fighting video game. God, most of them suck. One of them is with Jax, who was played by Saber from American Gladiators, just punching this shitty CGI puppet. But I do have to say, the cat fight between Sonya and Mileena is the best one in this clusterfuck of a film. Well, don't even get me started with the climax. Oh, mother of God, what kind of a horse shit is this? Liu Kang's animality looks more like the beta version of Onaga. What were they smoking? Yeah, it's obvious. This movie is a piece of shit. Definitely the biggest embarrassment of the franchise. Avoid at all costs.
Now we come to a bit of an end, my friends. This is the fourth and final installment of the Mortal Kombat arcade series. But there was a bit of a rule in the mid to late 90s. If you have a franchise, make it 3D, whether it's terrible or not. But thus, you might not know when we take a look at Mortal Kombat 4. However, this game was not digitally re-released anywhere, so thanks to technology at the time, it was perfectly ported onto the Nintendo 64, PlayStation, PC, and Sega Dreamcast, so I'm going to be taking a look at the game via that way.
So for the story, after Shao Kahn's permanent death in the last game, it awakens Shinnok from the Netherrealm and starts his destruction on Earthrealm. This game sees the return of Raiden and Johnny Cage, with some new faces like Fujin, Reiko, Kai, Jarek, Tanya, and Quan Chi, who was introduced in Mythology Sub-Zero.
Do not fail!
Not a huge fan of the new characters. Jarek may be another Black Dragon member, but Kano, he ain't. Fujin is alright, at least we got another Elder God aside from Raiden. Later on, Mortal Kombat 4 will get the MK3 treatment while being one of the launch games for the Sega Dreamcast under the name Mortal Kombat Gold. This version added back Baraka, Cyrax, Katana, Kung Lao, and Mileena, making Gold the definitive version of Mortal Kombat 4. I'm happy with this. In terms of gameplay, we still have the usual punches and kicks along with the combo attacks returning from Mortal Kombat 3, along with the run button. In all seriousness, the only major change is the jump to 3D. To me, it's not a bad transition. Fatalities and stage fatalities are still here, but babalities, friendships, and animalities are removed. Not a loss to me because I think people are okay with the gore in this franchise. The upside is I can say that the single player is not as bullshit as the previous games. And here's a fact, you're supposed to fight Quan Chi before getting to Shinnok in the arcade version. In the home console version, they brought Goro back, and I'm happy for it. Though I don't understand why Shinnok is the poor man's version of Shang Tsung, mainly because he actually shapeshifts like Shang. In addition, each character has their own cinematic endings, which are all Wisconsin levels of cheese. Since I don't have time to play all the characters, I'm gonna borrow the endings brought to us by mksecrets.net.
The Black Dragon died with Kano. You're the last one, Jarek.
Never!
Never, sorcerer!
Despite the jump to 3D, there's nothing much I can say about Mortal Kombat 4 that I already said about Mortal Kombat 3. Nevertheless, the franchise's first attempt in 3D is not that bad. It won't be until Mortal Kombat transitions to home consoles where they mastered the effect. In the end, the Mortal Kombat franchise is what made me a fan of the fighting game genre. Sure, it may not be for everyone, but I did at least had fun at the end. Hell, it was the biggest franchise to talk about.
I mean, think about it. It was a video game that sparked our friendship, right, man?
Oh yeah.
So, you ready to challenge me?
Bring it on.
Prepare to eat my dust.
Smack talk, nice. Hey, can we join too? Come on in. All right. I'm game. I'm game.
Ah, you got me. Alright guys, that was
That was great.
yeah, or, you know, like,
Definitely great reuniting with the buddies again.
yeah, it's been a while, guys, so
Yeah, for sure. It's nice.
we gotta hang out more often, alright?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Alright, see you guys later.
Peace out,
Take
man.
it easy, man.
Alright, so, later, guys.
Take it easy, man.
Huh, that worked out pretty well today.
Guess so.
What in the hell is this?
What?
The hell? That's what I want to know.
Two retro nerds. Lex Luthor.
I don't like the sound of this.